There is a repair on a modern compact tractor that can run $4,000 to $5,000. Drops the whole machine into what the manual calls limp mode, so all it will do is crawl, and has nothing to do with the engine wearing out. The engine is fine. What failed is a filter bolted onto the exhaust. A diesel particulate filter, a DPF, and that filter is not on your tractor because the engine needs it. It is there because of a federal emissions rule that in 2013 came down more than 10 times harder on engines over 25 horsepower than on the ones under it. Meeting it meant the filter. So the single thing most likely to send your tractor to the shop for a 4-figure bill is not the engine at all. It is a part the engine never asked for. For decades, the only question about a compact diesel was whether it would outlast the man who bought it. A good one runs thousands of hours. That was the whole game before 2013. Nobody on a dealer lot today is thinking about that filter, and it is the most expensive thing that can fail on the machine they are about to finance. So before you sign for $15,000 to $40,000 of tractor, forget horsepower and the color of the paint. The ranking that matters is which brand's engine and the filter in front of it costs you first, and which one outlasts the badge you paid extra for. And here is the number no salesman leads with. Of the 10 brands a shopper cross-shops, 4 of them do not build the engine under the hood at all. They buy it from somebody else and bolt their own badge on top. And the most expensive name on the whole lot, John Deere, is one of the 4. It buys its diesel from somebody else, and who it buys from is the answer to this whole list. One move beats this entire problem, and I will hand it to you now. Under 25 horsepower, a machine has no DPF, because the rule that forces the filter only bites at 25 and up. Kubota builds one at 24.8 horsepower on purpose, the L2501, and it can never hand you that $4,000 repair because the part is not on it. 25. Hold that number, because it decides more about what you spend than the badge on the front ever will. Which leaves the real question this list answers. Once you are past that filter, which of these engines dies last? And is it the one you would pay the most to own, or the one you would pay the least? Start at the bottom, with the one brand where you cannot even find out whose engine you are buying. Massey Ferguson carries one of the oldest, most respected names in farming, and on a big row crop machine, it earns it. But walk down to the compact end of the lot, and the engine goes murky. Massey's parent company, AGCO, states in its own federal filing that it buys some of its finished tractors from Iseki of Japan and 2 Italian firms. It does not say which model gets which engine. And the Indian partner that has built a great many of Massey's smaller tractors, a company called TAFE, was handed a notice of termination in April of 2024. So the little Massey is an engine nobody will name for you, out of a supply arrangement being torn up. If the company selling you the tractor will not tell you whose engine is inside it, what is it you are financing for the next 10 years? One rung up sits Bobcat, with the opposite problem. Everybody knows the name off the orange skid steers, a tough, proven brand. The trouble is that Bobcat only came back into compact tractors a few years ago, and the engine in them is a Daedong, built by the Korean company that also owns Coyote. Daedong signed a contract in December of 2024 to supply Bobcat's tractors and engines across the 20 to 70 horsepower range. Most of that range sits above 25 horsepower, which means the filter and the $4,000 repair behind it. The engine may turn out to be a good one, But nobody has run this engine under a Bobcat badge for 15 years yet, so nobody can tell you that it will. Then comes TWIM and the badge it swallowed, Branson. Give TWIM its due. It builds its own engines and puts more machine in front of you for the dollar than the premium names do. But there is a catch that rides along with the discount. Back in 2022, TWIM folded Branson into itself, and the Branson name started disappearing. TWIM also builds the tractors a large farm store chain sells under its own house label. So a buyer can drive home owning any one of 3 different badges, all built by the same Korean factory, carrying the shortest long-term track record of any name on this list. 1 factory, 3 names, and no clean way to know which of those badges will still have engine parts flowing a decade from now. That is the gamble riding on a $15,000 to $40,000 note. Quick one, since we are in the middle of the list. A lot of you have had a mechanic tell you the engine inside your tractor was built by a company whose name appears nowhere on the hood. If that has happened to you, the badge you paid for and the real engine underneath would tell the people shopping right now more than any ranking I can give them. That is worth writing down while it is fresh. Back to the list. From here, the engines get more solid, and the danger shifts to something you will never hear on the lot. LS is a large Korean builder, and its engines are modern and competent. Almost nobody sets out to buy an LS. But a great many people have bought a New Holland Boomer, those small red tractors, and underneath the red paint, those are LS engines. New Holland's own parent company names LS as its supplier, and LS says it has built the company's under 60 horsepower tractors since 2009. Everything in that range above 25 horsepower carries the filter, so the same $4,000 exposure rides under both badges. So the respected red machine and the Korean one you walked straight past are the very same engine. You paid extra for the red and for the privilege of never being told. Mahindra sits in the middle, and the middle here is not an insult. Mahindra builds its own diesel engines, has done for decades, and it is the largest tractor maker in the world by volume, 30 years deep in the American market. A company that builds its own engine cannot lose the ability to support it because a supply contract fell through overseas. On a note that runs $15,000 to $40,000, that is worth paying for. Now the honest limit. That biggest in the world number rests on small tractors sold in India, and when Mahindra ran a #1 claim in its American advertising, a national ad review board made it ad qualifiers after John Deere challenged it. So take the engine at face value and take the marketing with a grain of salt. Building the thing itself is what lifts Mahindra above every badge below it. Which brings the list to the brands that are engine companies first. Coyote is built by Daedong, and Daedong is a diesel engine maker that happens to own a tractor brand. Now think back to that Bobcat at the bottom. Its engine is a Daedong too. The same Korean engine family sits under a bargain badge nobody has run for long, and under the Coyote, a more trusted name. Same engine. It was proven before Coyote ever bolted its badge on. What you pay for up here is a company that builds diesels for a living and sells them under its own name, so there's never a mystery about who stands behind the part. That settled support is a real part of what you are financing on a $15,000 to $40,000 machine. Here's the arithmetic. Nobody works for you at that desk. Take Kubota's own 2 machines, one just under the horsepower line, one just over it. The L2501 sits at 24.8 horsepower with no filter. Step up to the 33 horsepower version and you have crossed 25, so now there's a diesel particulate filter on it. That filter carries a federal emissions warranty, and I read the terms straight off John Deere's own warranty document. 5 years or 3,000 hours, whichever comes first. Now do the hours. A normal compact owner puts on about 200 a year, so 3,000 hours is 15 years down the road. The 5 years runs out first, long before the machine is done with it. After that, the $4,000 repair comes out of your pocket. So the choice between those two machines was never about 8 horsepower. It was about whether you wanted to finance a $4,000 part with a 5-year clock ticking on it, or not own the part at all. You will hear the diesel particulate filter is fine if you just run the machine right. And there is truth in that. More than half of diesel particulate filter complaints trace to how the tractor was used. Short light jobs that never let the filter get hot enough to burn clean, skipped oil, interrupted cycles. But sit with what that means. The filter needs a hard-working machine to stay healthy. And you bought a compact to mow a few acres and move some gravel on a Saturday. The way a property owner uses one is the way that clogs it. And the warranty can deny a claim it decides came from how you ran the machine, not from a defect. So the fix everyone offers, work it hard, is the one thing the man who bought a small tractor for small jobs was never going to do. That escape hatch is why Kubota takes second place. The smartest thing you can walk onto a lot and buy. Kubota is an engine company before it is a tractor company. It builds diesels for other manufacturers, up to 210 horsepower, and drops them under its own hood as well. The best engine maker on the lot, and the only one that will sell you a clean way around the $4,000 filter. The reason it does not finish first sits one rung above it. There's one engine on this whole list, so trusted that even the company charging the most for a tractor will not build its own. It buys this one instead. Its name is the last thing this list will tell you. So which engine dies last? Nobody publishes a design life figure that lines these engines up against each other. So anyone handing you a hard ranking on that question is guessing. But here is the closest thing to an answer a buyer can get, and it comes from the market. The most expensive name on the whole lot, John Deere, the Green Premium. Every buyer knows he is paying, does not build the engine in its compact tractors. It buys a Yanmar diesel and builds a tractor around it in Grovetown, Georgia. Deere has the money and the factories to build any engine it wants. On its compacts, it chose to buy this one instead. Call that what it is, a purchasing decision made by the company with the deepest checkbook in the business, and the tell-no-spec sheet will give you. When the outfit charging the most goes shopping for an engine, it comes home with a Yanmar. So the top of this list goes to Yanmar, on the strength of who else chose it. And you can buy that very same Yanmar engine under Yanmar's own badge without paying the Green Premium for the privilege of it being green. So before you sign anything, do the 3 things the salesman will not. First, ask who builds the engine and do not accept the color of the paint as the answer. If the man behind the desk cannot tell you, that is your answer. Second, look hard at the horsepower. If it is over 25, that machine has a diesel particulate filter, and that filter is a 4-figure repair with a 5-year federal clock and a whole working life after the clock runs out. Ask what a replacement costs, out loud, at the desk, and watch the room go quiet. Third, if the way you will use the machine fits under 25 horsepower, you can buy your way clean out of the most expensive failure on a modern compact for the price of a little less power, because the engine was almost never going to be your problem. A good compact diesel will outrun the man who buys it. What dies first is the filter the badge bolted in front of it, and the premium you paid for a name that bought its engine somewhere else. Price the engine, price the filter. The badge is the one part of that tractor that will never break down, and the only part they were ever selling you.